Oh, we're excited to start Big Tens this week. I think a lot of people have asked us when the season starts because high school softball and baseball are starting, but we're about halfway done. But we're excited to go into Big Ten play, head out to Michigan State, and we've challenged ourselves so far the first 5 weeks, faced some great competition, and we're ready to get into that Big Ten part of the schedule.
There we go. So we started a little rough, being 2-6, but then from there you went winning of your 11 of 13 games. Can you talk maybe a little bit, kind of like the talks you had with your players and the team in terms of like that big turnaround?
Oh, sure. The beginning was rough. I think every year you go into it gauging what you've got and how good you think you could be, and I think we're a really talented group. So it was very humbling not to win right out of the gate. But for us, you're going to be on the road. And so being on the road is always hard. And being able to stick with it, I think it took kind of a veteran staff to do that. We're lucky to have such great hitting coach with Danielle Zimkowitz and pitching coach with Kirsten Verdon. So I think that the staff just kind of brought all the older players together and said, stay the course and let's make it about learning and getting better, and the wins will come. And I think when we took the focus off of just wins and losses and made it about competing and playing great softball, then it didn't matter who was on the field across from us. If it was Indiana or Texas or Alabama, I think the team just had fun competing, and then the wins came.
And I'm not sure the trend is the right word, but seems like pitching staffs, or there's more of a pitching staff throughout with teams and the NCAA softball right now. And then by all means, we have a staff with Peyton Monticelli, Maddie Schwartz, you got Gabby Salo. Maybe talk about your utilization of them maybe as a staff versus maybe always having like that one dominant pitcher.
Yeah, we're so proud of how the pitching staff's come along. I give Coach Verdon a ton of credit for developing the pitchers, but last year we battled some injuries, and when you're thin pitching, you feel it, and your ace feels it. And Maddie Schwartz had a phenomenal year and really carried us to the NCAA tournament. But this year, seeing Gabby Salo emerge healthy, seeing Peyton Monticelli as a freshman, man, they have just played some great games and put us in a great position. So now you've got Maddie Schwartz carrying the workload or closing games and getting saves in really pressure situations. So we're just a tougher team when we've got that balance. And I couldn't be more proud of the pitchers just working together and keeping us in really tough games.
Is there a transition between playing your preseason down south, warm weather, mostly softball, and then you're coming up to play in East Lansing, presumably kind of spring, winter weather? Like, what's the mentality change?
Well, luckily we're built to do this. I think being a really Midwestern focused program, that we have a ton of Wisconsin kids, a ton of Chicago kids. So they've grown up in this weather. Even Gabby Salo, she's a Michigan kid, but she's from the UP. So when you've got those tough kids that have played in cold weather, they're ready to go. And we're one of the few teams that will practice even when it's horrible out. So if we could play a game in it, we're out there grinding on the field. And so I think from a toughness standpoint, our team's ready to play in cold weather, and they embrace it. So bring it on. I say the colder the better. I don't know if the team will like to hear that, but no, but it'll be fun. And I think there's just a toughness to the Big Ten that you've got to be okay playing in that cold weather, and we're built for it.
What is a win, kind of a signature win if you're on the outside? You beat a SEC team down south, highly ranked team. What does a win like that do as your season continues to go on?
I think the biggest thing for us, being able to pull a Sunday win against Alabama, it was just such a gritty game. It was a back and forth game, but I think it opens everyone's eyes that we can play with anyone. And so early in the season, we lost a lot of tough games, so we know we've got the ability to lose to anyone. But then when you start bringing it together and you play some tough competition and you stay with it and pull out those wins, now you know you can beat anyone. So it's a choice. And so I see the team working so hard right now. They've got their off days. They're still grinding it out because they're just hungry to say, all right, we're humble, but we know we could play with anyone. So the confidence is pretty high, and they've still got that work ethic behind it.
Take us back to Alabama briefly. Kayla Conways' home run was what, 2-2 count, 1 out. Like, what were the emotions as soon as you seen it hit her left the bat? Like, what were you going through?
I would say for the Alabama game, I had a little deja vu. I was telling the team in the dugout, we knew we didn't face their ace out of the gate, with Montana Fouts just pitching a phenomenal game the night before and getting a big win against Texas in extra innings. But we knew there was a chance that she'd come into that game. And seeing the team's mentality in the dugout of wanting to see their ace, I think they mentally had it won before Kayla even hit the ball. So I laughed maybe in the middle of the game. It was back and forth and we were down, and I heard the team chanting, "Bring out the ace." And there's not many people that want to face Montana Fouts. I mean, she is as good as advertised. And so to see the team hungry and competing and wanting to match up, they're like, this is what we came for. We want to see their best. And so when they brought Montana in for Kayla, it was like a storybook. You've got their all-time, record leader in strikeouts. You get Kayla Conways as our home run kid. And to write it up that way for her to get the go-ahead home run, it couldn't happen to a nicer kid. I think players like Kayla battle injury and come back late in their career to do things like that for the program, to do things like that for the state. So when she hit that ball, it was great, and I wouldn't celebrate. It was still early in the game, and I knew we had a couple innings, 2 innings for Maddie Schwartz to close it out, and so Kayla laughed that I didn't get too high in that moment, because we knew we still had to do our job, and they did, and it was pretty fun to see the catch at the end with the exclamation point for Kate, just to go through a wall. She's the kind of kid that you say she'd run through a wall, so to watch her make that play, her love for Kayla and Maddie, I think she just wanted to get it done for those older kids.
One last question. Since at FAU, you've moved Skylar Sodashny up at the leadoff spot, and ever since then, I believe she's hitting like 360 something in that leadoff spot. And then you have other players such as like Ellie Hubbard, some of your underclassmen starting to pick it up. Can you talk a little bit about them? Because we've talked so much about like Katie Keller, Kayla Conways, Maddie Schwartz, the leaders on the team, but now you have the underclassmen starting to step it up.
Yeah, when you see players like Skylar Sardashny step up, I think her freshman year was that COVID year that a ton of players brought their fifth years back and we didn't. So when she was a freshman, she got a lot of playing time and, took her lumps, but really battled through and learned. So she is our silver lining for not having fifth years back when she was a freshman, and now as a junior. Man, she is creative, and she made some plays in our Texas State games. Texas State's ranked now, and for us to get extra inning win against them, she was just masterful at third. And she's always been a defensive kid, but now to see the offense coming along, it's like every NCAA team that's making a run in basketball right now, you have a ton of kids that were big defensive kids that maybe came along with their offense. And so seeing her come along, she's a big key to us making a run this year.